Today, we're tackling one of the most consistently frustrating motions in outbound, event follow-up. So most teams tend to treat event follow-up like a nurture drip. Hopefully, you're not one of those teams already. And then hopefully after today, if you are, you won't be doing that anymore. I'm going to walk through exactly how we turn raw attendee data into, I mean, Steve loves event follow-up. Awesome. Love it, Steve. Maybe you can throw some tips of your own into the chat too as we go along. So I will be walking through exactly how we turn that raw attendee data into meetings. You're going to see the full workflow, what we've built here, what we use here, the custom signal, as well as the AI messaging. So we're going to get into it all. Feel free to, as we go through, I know I said this last class, same thing goes this class. I may or may not be able to address questions as they come in the chat. I'm going to try to keep an eye on it. I don't have a moderator. It's just me over here. So if I miss it, rest assured, we'll get to it at the end, have some Q&A time at the end. So this should take about 30 minutes. We got a little extra time on the calendar. All right, so it's class number 2 in a 3-part series. If you were here last time, again, you saw class or closed loss workflow live in action. We built an audience and all of that good stuff. Today is where you're going to make the system your own by adding custom signals and building an actual events play. So the last class of the series will be next Wednesday. I'm doing them at the same time. So I have one early in the day and one later in the day, trying to accommodate anyone in Europe or my friends over on the West Coast too. I'll be sharing a day in the life next time of our reps who use AI, use Gemmy on autopilot, and how they work side by side with the AI autopilot while it's writing emails for them, how they manage their time, how they use the Copilot or the Chrome extension, and how they're using that while they're on calls, making their cold calls, and how they're using that when they're writing their LinkedIn messages too. So that is to come. But for today, let's set up a quick game plan and a bit of context, why this workflow matters. And then we'll get into the live build. Going to create a custom signal with you, build the workflow, and actually play with messages some too, so you can see how all of that works. This is, again, exactly how we read it inside of UserGems. Then I'm going to share some adoption tips as well as some wins from my team. And like I said before, open it up for your questions if any come up along the way. So why should you even care about events? It's a really great place to lean into because you have a concentrated group of people who've already engaged with you either in person or virtually, are aware of your brand in a different sort of way, right? What most teams are doing with that signal is just throwing a generic, checking in after the event sort of message that tends to get ignored because it looks like all the rest of everyone else who did the same thing. So what we do instead is take that event data signal plus other signals and then give it to AI to give you relevant personalization at scale. I know it's an overused term, but stick with me. It is what we're actually doing here. And then when you add events into your broader signal library, it's also going to really help your targeting and account scoring get sharper too. So the goal here, personalized outbound that's scalable based on the event that they actually attended. So not a nurture drip, but signal-based outbound playbook is what we're going for here. Before we get started building anything, I want you to see what exactly is possible. So UserGems, which what I'm using, what I'm showing you, lets you treat events like clean, structured signals. You can see over here, these are our actual custom signals in our instance. So booth visits, attendees, no-shows, customers at your event, events you've hosted or sponsored. If it's in your CRM and your CRM tracks it, we can turn it into a custom signal. So this again is our custom signals we've created. You can see that we've separated here UserGems events out from like OpStars and HumanX here. Those were events that we attended. Maybe we had a booth. We were there, but they weren't our events. So when we're talking about UserGems events, those are ones that we've hosted that are our personal events, so they're a bit more material, and so we want to treat those differently. Just because somebody saw us at OpStars or HumanX and engaged with us isn't necessarily as material as them attending one of our events where we're talking about user gems the whole time. So this is how you avoid this sort of one size fits all or one size fits none event outreach. Your reps can this way see exactly who did what, and then the AI goes ahead and shapes the message around those micro sort of interactions. All right, here is what we are building today, a custom event attendee signal using a Salesforce report upload. A simple way to bucket attendees by event, some sample emails and content that we're going to give to Jemmy to make it speak the way that you want, and a live look at messaging that's going to dynamically update for each attendee. Last week, we built the audiences. I showed you how to build the workflow. Today, I'm going to show you how to build a custom event campaign. The campaign will target folks that actually visited our booth. So first, we start by adding in the custom signal. Custom signals can be really anything from content downloads, event registrations, product usage. Custom signal is how you can pull in any data that you are tracking in your CRM that's meaningful to you. So there are two different methods that you can go about importing a custom signal. The first is going to be CSV file, and then the second is to import actual fields from your CRM. Today, we're going to walk through method number 2, and we'll start by importing a Salesforce report. So to start that off, you're going to want to have a Salesforce report. That would be helpful. So for us, the way that we create this report, we track events by pick list. I know there's a lot of different ways that you can track events. People have their own favorite. Some people hate pick lists. We tend to like them. This works for us. So this is our method of doing it. So we've created this report by filtering by our pick list. Then once you have your report, you're going to want to grab your report ID, which you can find in the URL from Salesforce, and just grab the number between the words report and view. Avoid those slashes on the ends. You just need the numbers and letters. You're going to you're going to navigate within UserGems. You're going to go to the signals library and then navigate to the custom signal. Click into that and you'll see this scene right here, or this screen right here. Upload the signal. Going to select Salesforce report and then just paste that bad boy right in there and click continue. Then after it's pulled that report in, you get to map the. This is really pretty simple. You can see here, all you actually need is the email field, but the more fields you map, the better. So I went ahead and mapped the first name, last name, company, which for us is account name, domain, which is the URL, and then title. And then on the LinkedIn, we track both account and contact level LinkedIn URLs. So I want to make sure to grab that contact level URL. And then we're going to add in the UserGems event signal. So typing that in and then mapping that to, yes, the events, contact events. So that's where it's going to pull from that report that you just made. All right, and then we're going to go into set up the signal. So now we're going to actually jump over and get into the live environment here. So now we're in my UserGems. I'm going to start by going back to that signals library. Now that I've created that signal, I need to go find it and select it. So let's go down and down and down. All right. And now you see we have custom signal, we have events under our custom signals. Let's jump in there. Oh, and guys, sorry, I did a class before, so I'm going to delete that and redo it for you all. So in here, we are going to create the new subsignal. You can see we already have this Dreamforce attendee subsignal. We're going to add in no-shows too. So let's do Dreamforce no-show. And then we'll add the condition and say events contains, and then Dreamforce no-show. Click enter. There we go. Spelled it right this time. So bonus points for me there. And we're going to save this one. All right. Now we have that completely set up. We can go over back to our audiences. Hopefully you remember those guys from last week and they're not as intimidating this week. If you were here last week, then you remember we start by clearing out any filters that are already here. So clearing those out. And for this example, since we did build a whole audience last week, I'm going to keep this really simple. And we're just going to put this Dreamforce attendee filter on it. And that's all we're going to worry about for now. So we're just going to pretend like we want to approach every single person who attended our Dreamforce booth, right? All right, we're on this one. Typically you would save the audience. I'm not going to save it because I pre-saved it. So we are going to now jump over into the actual campaign creation. Go in here. Again, for time's sake today, I've pre-built a few things. So we're going to start here with our attendee workflow, which I've just kind of gotten started. And I'll just jump in here just to show you this is that audience that we made in here. So we've got our audience. And just so you remember, we have all these options as far as scheduling and limits that we can choose from. But what we're really interested in today is the messaging. So let's look at it. First thing that you're going to want to look at is what we're showing different signals showing up on the account and different signals showing up on the prospect themselves. This event signal is the one that we just made. So had we not made that, that would not be there. So we have that Shaital here, hopefully I'm saying her name right, was actually at the event. We also can see that Maintain X has past champions at their company, and they have recently partnered as well. So all of this, and then this is your kind of quick summary of those signals. And this is what the AI is going to use to create this messaging here. So you can see how it shapes the messaging too, looking at these signals and then looking at what it's written. Notice there's some familiar faces there. Danny, Seth, and Josh all used UserGems at their previous company. 5 colleagues who've seen us in action might be a good fit there. And you'll see it'll continue to sort of weave some of these things throughout the sequence here. So notice maybe how these messages, even though they have the event signal on them, aren't talking about the event up front. So this is something that we want to customize and make sure that they are talking about the event up front. So we're going to skip over to, I did create another workflow to get into the customizations and walk you through how to do that. So there's a few different ways. Let's jump back in here. There's a few different ways that you can customize Gemi messaging. So this one has that customized messaging already loaded. We're going to first jump over here into the contents. So first thing for customization is making sure your value prop is on target. You want to make sure that you're talking about what you do in the right way and the way that you want it to. So this is where you can add all of those details in. Make sure you're talking about yourselves correctly, but also make sure you're speaking to your personas in the right way and speaking to their specific pain points. So this is where you can go to do that and make sure that it's customized for this specific workflow too, if you want. And then another great way to customize these messaging is by giving the AI sample emails. So I don't know how much you all have played around, how deep you are in with AI, but I've personally found the best thing to get it to do what you want is giving it examples, not just giving it blind directions. So adding these emails in can really help the writing of the AI a lot. So we used emails from the past or emails that we had our best reps or myself or manager write with best practices for event follow-up. Just general. What's great about this is it's going to take these general vibe and tone and structure, but then it's going to continue to weave in those other signals. So it's not just this static message that we would have sent before when we didn't have much of a choice about it. So that's your sample emails. The other thing that we like to add in, we do a lot of gifting here at UserGems, and gifting for events specifically we found it to be a great sort of conversation starter post-event. Hitting them up in that first 24 hours after the event. If you've done a lot of events, you know exactly how it feels when you're at the end, and you definitely need some caffeine while you're dragging your ass through through the airport. So we like to give them that and send that right over for them of, hey, like, let's give them this little coffee gift card. We do that by adding the actual URL link in here. And then we give it a quick description. Hey, it's a gift card that directs the user to Sendoso to claim a $5 coffee gift card. The messaging instructions is how we want the AI to actually use in the message. So please always use this in the first email. I do actually usually, I'm one of those people who says, please to AI. You do not have to. Always use this in the first email. Always hyperlink the URL rather than pasting in the raw link, because that is just yuck. No one likes that. All right. So now that we've added all of these different ways to get the message to do what we want it to do more, let's see what those messages actually look like. So looking at Max here at Boomi, who has, again, that event signal. So very basically different person, but basically the same thing that we were looking at before with, was it Chantel, something along those lines. Max also, they have past champions at Boomi. They've recently partnered, and they have the event signal. So we're looking at same sort of signals on this one. But this time what the messaging looks like is, hey, coffee on us. Max, thanks for stopping by the UserGems booth at Dreamforce. Post-conference weeks hit hard. Here's a coffee on us to power through. So giving them that quick little gift. And then you'll see in the second email, in that bump email, then we're going to throw out that, hey, James and your CS team might have some interesting thoughts on UserGems from when he was at Uptempo. So we're still weaving in those other signals, but the AI is doing exactly what we told it to do. So one other way that we can customize Gemi even further than what we did is by chatting directly with the AI. So you can see here, I already did a little bit of this to be able to show you all. So we like our CTAs tight here. So told it, hey, those CTAs should not be more than 5 words max. Keep the subject lines to 2 to 3 words max. Just short and sweet, right? And you can see as we go through, it has done that. No more long, lengthy subject lines. And then when talking about pain points, only use hedging language rather than assumptive. Again, with the examples, please always give examples when you can. Instead of saying you're probably dealing with, use words like might, probably, or could would be better. So added that in, and you can see in the messaging that Jemmy is doing all of those things as well. So that is our little live walkthrough of what we got going on inside our events messaging and workflow. Gonna jump back over now. Let's get back into our deck. So those wins that I promised to share with you from our team, these are real examples from our team here. You can see the difference when the reps actually reference the event. It feels natural, it converts faster. These wins also to note are not coming from really long sequences. Theirs are not 20-step sequences. We keep event follow-up pretty short and sweet. It's all about the timing. So they come from tight, relevant messaging built off of those real signals we're looking at. You can see those in the screenshot as well, how many signals we got going on in each of these wins. So whether it was written by AI and auto sent over email, or LinkedIn message written by the reps, or on their cold call, we're still referencing those same signals. So it brings it all together. Just a little tip here for us, could be different where you're at, but for us, LinkedIn tends to be like our strongest channel for event follow-up. So really good to get ahead of that and connect with anyone. If you have a registration list, get those connections in before the event so that you can send those great follow-up messages afterwards. All right, now let's talk about how to actually get your team bought into this play. Because maybe they've been scarred by event follow-up. I was when I was a rep. Maybe they don't think they're worth spending the time on. They want to prioritize other things. So to get them to buy in, it's the same things that almost always gets reps to buy in. So if it's going to save them time and make them more money, then they'll buy in. So show them the before and after messaging. Have them be involved in it, like have them help you improve upon the messaging and all the ways that we just went over. Once they see that the writing is good, they're not going to miss the typing and having to write those messages themselves. Promise they won't. They still get to do their fun part on LinkedIn anyways. They love having one place to work instead of copy pasting from Google Docs or from templates in their SEP from their task. Much better to just have it flow out for them. So make sure they understand the point too, that AI is there to help shape the message, but they stay in control of how it lands. And then always celebrate the first few wins, especially loudly. If you attend all my classes, any classes you'll ever see me in, I'll always talk about celebrating loudly with the team. It is the biggest thing to get them on board for anything. Celebrate it. If it doesn't matter if the AI wrote the email and that got them the win, or if it was them on a cold call, celebrate it. Celebrate. Adoption always follows the momentum. These best practices I'm about to share come from shout out to Court on our team, who has really crushed events since joining us. And now we have taken her best practices that I'm sharing here and adopted them across the team and seen a lot of success. So please also join me in learning from Court's tips. So tracking interactions in real time. Reps should be for events really acting like detectives. Pay attention to who's leaning in, who's asking smart questions, who's taking photos. If it's virtual event, then who's blowing up the chat, who's doing emojis, who's engaged, and when are they engaged. So these are really like real time buying signals that hide in plain sight. I'm gonna repeat myself on this one. I know I will. Follow up fast. First 24 hours is where most teams either win or they completely flop on event follow up. So quick thank you with one personalized detail instantly is going to separate you from everyone else doing any sort of generic marketing nurture afterwards. And then when you are writing that quick follow up, keep it casual, keep it helpful. Remind your team like it's not a proposal, it's not a hard pitch. It's more of like trying to vibe with them and connect with them on the related experience you just had. So keep it light and useful. Something like, "Hey, saw you were interested in this at the event. Want me to send you some related piece of material?" Um, be a connector whenever you can if it's possible. Is if this is great for if it's your own event, if it's a virtual event, if somebody's persona matching with a speaker from the event, offer an intro. This is a great like value add that you can drop in easily. um, and then use specifics for relevance. So tell the team to pull like one real moment, to look for one real moment, a question that this person asked, or a slide they photographed, a topic they reacted to, something from the conversation that they had with them or someone else at the event had with them and took notes on. Give your team and anyone else who's going to be working the event the follow up playbook way prior to the event. Tell them exactly what you're going to be asking them to do, like with these tips that you're going to be looking for these notes on these people, like how they were engaging, all of these things before the event. So they know what to look for when they're there and they can actually take those notes. Also, we've found that voice notes are really great at events because not everybody wants to sit there typing notes into their phone half the time. Not everybody types very fast, or they just won't do it. But if you just ask them to record little voice notes after they have any interaction or anything to note that they see, then you can transcribe them afterwards. Really, really helpful. Um, Ask the person for their favorite part and then share yours. So this turns a cold outreach into an actual conversation a lot of times. Be specific when you're saying what yours is so that they can tell like you were actually there, you were actually engaged too. And it's not just another line. And then again, timing. Again, timing's everything. So better to send just like a short and sweet follow up right after the event, ASAP, rather than to have like some really, really beautifully create like written email that goes out 3 days later. No one cares then. All right. Last thing here before we get into Q&A, if there are any questions. I haven't seen any pop up in the chat. If you have any, please go ahead and start dropping them in. But next class, I will be sharing a day in the life again, in case you missed it when we started, a day in the life of our reps who use Gemi and use Autopilot and how they work side by side with the AI while it's writing emails for them, selecting their prospects, selecting their accounts. So, how do they work with that in real life? How they manage their time, how they use Copilot, the Chrome extension showing the signals on the accounts and on the prospects, how they're using those on live calls and for LinkedIn messages. So this is going to be much more like practical tips, day in the life of rep than these last two classes that were more focused on the kind of in the weeds in the product walkthrough. All right. Event messaging would then be sent via your sales engagement platform. Yes. So for us, the way that that works is our UserGems pushes into, we use Outreach here, so pushes into Outreach and writes the messages within Outreach, and it goes out that way. For us, because of speed to lead with events specifically, we'll let those go out automatically without the team necessarily reviewing, because we want them to get the message as soon as possible. But then the team's also going to be following up on LinkedIn and via cold calls. All right. Any other? Thanks, Steve, for the questions. Any other questions here? Yes, there will be a recording going out of this video. These will also all be available. Each classroom will be available on demand on the UserGems website. So if there's anything that you missed and you ever want to go back and reference, you can grab it anytime. Thanks, Cassie. Anybody else? Going once, going twice. All right. We'll call it a day here and wrap up. But thank you all again for joining me. Really appreciate you cutting out some of your time in the day, especially in Q4 and this madness that we're all in, to spend it with me. Hope you'll be able to make it to the final class next Wednesday. If not, if you want to go ahead and register, even if you know you can't make it, you will receive a recording of that too. So feel free to do that as well. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, Cassie. Thanks for the questions. Y'all have a great rest of your week and great rest of your Q4. See ya.